am Tara, and I run this crazy thing. This is an online, digital, immersive, live-action role-playing game. It is in the sci-fi genre, and I am playing Captain Emily O'Sullivan, and I have a complement of crew and passengers here with me, and we're out of game right now, but shortly we will be going in-game, and you'll get to hear us discuss a variety of issues tonight. So last time, my character had assigned some homework. This time, we're going to sort of discuss those various issues. Everybody's going to do a little bit of leading if they feel comfortable, and I don't want to say anything else because stuff will happen, but that's
spoilers.
Yeah, but that's just gonna happen as it happens, and yeah. So, welcome everybody. Do we have anything else out of game we want to talk about before I switch over? Hey Jessica, we are not even in game yet. We are streaming, but we're not in game yet. So welcome. So anything else?
I just want to say, for those of you who may or may not be surprised by the voting results tonight, y'all are a bunch of cheating bastards, and I love you. Well done, everyone who manipulated the crap out of the vote.
Well, I mean, I didn't cheat. I just tried to make sure people were informed.
Yeah, well, you know, that could be considered, education could be considered cheating in certain circles.
And before we begin, I do want to say thank you to my latest follower. I did get that notification. I'm just going to change us over to session 2 over on Twitch. And we're all set. We're all ready to go. All right, update information. Yay. Cool. All right. I'm going to switch it over to in-game. And then we will go in-game. Let me just make the switch. On the overlay. Chariot Larp. In-game. All right, 3, 2, 1, game on. Welcome, everyone. We've had a lot of time to think about some of the issues we discussed last time. I know everyone was a little worried about this whole AI issue. We also had some people worried about some genetics issues, which we're going to discuss later once our geneticist is back. I have a suspicion about where she is, but I might save that in case I need to have some useful information for later. But let's just say I've been reading up on her. And I'm reading up on the rest of you, so don't try anything too suspicious. I don't want this sabotaged in any way, and I understand that some of that might be going on. So we're gonna talk about that. I've got some news items to cover here. I've got some news messages popping up on my phone. I understand that of all the other chariots being developed, Chariot Epsilon has actually, Chariot Epsilon is an all-female crew, and Chariot Epsilon has actually suffered some kind of sabotage. And I want to say this better not happen here. So be vigilant. Make sure you know who you're talking to. Make sure sensitive information stays sensitive, because there's already something wrong with Epsilon. And I'm a little worried about that happening here. So, yeah, Leland, if you can get any leads on what happened with Epsilon, that would be fantastic. Make sure you prevent that from happening here. I understand it was some kind of system software failure.
That's the AIs. That's always how they get in. It's the AIs.
No, it's the living human hackers that are the problem.
It may very well be both, either or both, at this point. You know, I just don't want that happening to Beta. You know, this is our ship, this is our crew. I'm just glad that I don't want anything bad to happen to anyone. But I'm stressing out about the possibility of this happening to Beta. My responsibility is to this ship, to this crew, to these passengers, and I want to make sure that everyone's okay. So, we did have some routine testing at Relahart and Company, and then we also had some voting. So I want to take a minute to go over that. These, I want to say on a personal note, and these meetings are professional by nature, but I am gonna get a little personal here. I want to say on a personal note that these, this preparation has been kind of hard on me, right? Like, and I know I'm not the only one. It's a lot of pressure to launch a multi-generational ship. And I think everyone's doing a fantastic job. Everyone's recording their journey really exceptionally well. I just want to make sure that I'm empowering everyone here to do what they need to do to complete their jobs. So let me know what else I can do to make that happen. I've been having these, Doc, I'm going to have to talk to you about this. I've been having these, headaches the past week. I don't know what's wrong. Haven't been sleeping like I normally do. I haven't changed anything else in my diet or anything like that, but we'll need to chat about what's going on. But they've gotten pretty bad, and I want to make sure everything's okay before we launch. So I guess let's start by just checking in. I want to know how everybody's been handling saying goodbye to Earth and how everybody's just generally been doing. Let's just go through and do that now that I've said how I've been handling it. Lucius, how you been doing?
So I've been doing great here, working pretty much 24/7, getting 3 or 4 hours of sleep, but super excited and ready to be heading up into space and blasting off in just a few days.
Excellent. How about our engineer? How have you been? And
Which one?
Both. And how's the engine? I'll say that as well.
So I'm up in orbit, as you know. We're working 24-hour shifts here. I mean, not everyone is working 24 hours, but everything is going on all the time. People are tired. I'd say morale was pretty high. It's getting a little worse now. We were prepared to start ripping out fusion engine and replacing it with a fission and a biosynthesis engine. But since we haven't gotten the go-ahead for that yet, people are a little worried. And it's not going to be helped by these rumors we're hearing about sabotage on the Exodon ship. So things are a little tense up here. As for me, I haven't really had time to sit down and think about the fact that we're going to go very soon. I think I should do that soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot to think about. All right. Thanks for that update, Tess. Nora, how have you been holding up?
I have to unmute myself for you to hear me. Fine, I think. Nearly everyone I give a crap about is going to be on the Chariot Beta ship, so it's a little bit less difficult for me. Yeah, I'm good. I've just been so... Somebody has been feeding, let's say, an inordinate number of unpleasant images into all of the printers that I am near at any given moment. So it's been slightly annoying.
Just a minor annoyance or anything to worry about?
Oh, I think they're just mad they can't get fully into my voting system. So,
got it.
Is someone bothering personally?
I don't know. I kind of, whoever it is, I'm treating them like a toddler. I feel like they'll wear themselves out eventually, and then we can.
You show me the logs, and I'll find them. Okay?
Okay. All right. I'll send them over. You do that. I just had too much other shit to do and couldn't give a crap. So, yay.
All right. Roxy, what have you been up to?
Well, I don't know if you guys saw, but I just won Best Leading Actress at the Glitter Awards, which is why I'm a little late today.
Congrats. Congratulations.
Round of applause for me.
Congratulations.
That's all I've been up to.
All right. Well, you look very colorful. You're definitely improving my morale. So Great.
That's what I'm here for.
Yeah, it's good to see you. Bit, how about you? How you been doing?
I've been doing all right, trying to finish up a couple programs for projects that are going to be left behind here on Earth, trying to make sure that that's all taken care of before we get to the big launch. And yeah, generally just keeping things tied down.
All right.
Before it all goes up.
You've been feeling all right? Good work-life balance? Not too much party, right?
Yeah, I've been doing pretty good with all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And, sometimes working and private life can be a bit of a struggle, but I think fortunately I'm pretty good at it, in my humble opinion.
Fantastic. That's what I like to hear. Dr. Knight, how about you? How have you been doing? How have you been coping with everything?
Well, first, I'd like to just say how nice it is to hear from everyone again. I think doing this before we take off is the smartest thing. Overall, I'm doing well. Getting ready to do the last episode of Nightly Medical Hour. But otherwise, I'm coping as well as possible. I'm just trying to stay focused.
Nice. I notice your fans are, they seem sad that you're going, but they also seem like really optimistic, which is, the point of this mission. So I'm really glad to see that.
Of course. Actually, I've been getting a lot of feedback from our last, last session of this.
Mm-hmm.
People have been talking about the possibility, the future shift, because we aren't the last one.
Right.
We had a lot of discussions about AI last meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And what's the possibility of having a ship with an overload of AI so that people, who are invested in going and are more civilian focused, have that option? Is that something that we can talk about?
Yeah, I think that is a possibility for a future ship. That's certainly on the table. I'm gonna put that out there for our legal discussion upcoming later when we discuss the rights of AI. But thank you for bringing that up, and be sure to bring that up again when we talk about the legal ramifications of bringing AI aboard. So Leland, how have things been? Do you see anything going on regarding what's happening with Epsilon? Like, who is responsible for this?
I mean, I don't want to throw rumors around at this point. We all know there's a couple different organizations that seem to be coming at us in all directions, but there is, kind of one name that keeps popping up. We all know it, and again, I'm not going to give this person or entity praise from the issues that they're causing us, but at the same time, I'm going to keep digging. Thanks for bringing up about Epsilon. Had no idea. I need to dig a little deeper into their back-end system and their architecture to make sure that they don't have any flaws. I'm sure our auditing department has already done reports, so I'm going to go through those reports and see what I can find.
Sounds great. Thank you for that update. Father, how are you doing today, and how have you been coping with the prospect of leaving Earth?
Thanks for asking. Thanks for everyone checking in. It's good to see you all again. Personally, I've been doing fine. I've been doing some reflection and some research for stuff that's been going on, or I think may be coming up and going on, things we might approach. But moving, this has been known for a bit, so it's sad. I've had to switch positions before, so it's unfortunate, but there's a procedure for this. I've mostly been somewhat distracted. I'm hoping the Dodgers win the World Series again, the President Dodgers. So I've, it kind of means a lot, for rooting for Blue Crew. So I'm a little, frightened a little bit about this stuff, but I think we have a great team and some great people, and I think with some dedication and God's will, we'll be able to make it through this. So everything mostly okay on my end.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, we have a couple issues that we are prepared to talk about this evening. We're tabling genetics for geneticists to come back, but we have some multiple legal issues. And I understand there's been a legal committee formed. We also have some testing that happened, some routine testing, which made total sense. I'm going to be honest. I had a little bit of an issue with some of it, Lucius. I feel like I was already kind of pre-qualified to lead the ship. So I was wondering, was that just like a formality? What was with that?
Well, people, they tend to change their minds as we go through this process. So it's important that we continue the paperwork trail up until the point where we blast off. Also, it had to do with some security. We're just checking to make sure that everything's A-okay and that nobody wants to have any confessions that they'd like to make, especially with all these hackers and different things that are going on and the news of our recent sister ship. So thank you for everybody that actually showed up for that appointment. And to those of you that have not, I look forward to seeing some of the results from your information when that happens.
Yes, great. That's fantastic. How many people showed up? How many people skipped out, may I ask?
We had 6 people, including Adam.
Oh, Adam showed up. Wow. That's great. Hey, Adam.
I promised I'd give him hell if he didn't show up, so.
Hey, Adam. I'm sure you're listening. Welcome aboard the ship, I guess. Fantastic. All right. So, moving on to the voting. Nora, I'm going to turn things over to you for a bit, and go ahead and handle the voting. And I'd also like to hear about how this talks to the engine. I'm going to be here. I'm going to be buried a little bit in my messages, and just go ahead and do what you need to do, okay?
You got it. Okie dokie. So, I put together a question that I thought would be interesting but not horrifically controversial, because I wanted there to be a variety of voices, and I was hoping actually for a slight shift in whether I counted them first past the post, i.e. winner take all, or whether I did an instant runoff until I got 50%. It turned out we got the same result either way, but let me give you the math anyway. So the way it works in instant runoff is that I take everybody's first choice vote and I do the math on that. And if somebody gets 50% plus 1 vote, they win. If nobody gets 50% plus 1 vote, which is what happened here, you take the bottom choice that got the least result, you take those people's second choices, and then you add them in and see if somebody gets 50%. So it actually took 3 rounds of voting for us to get a winner of above 50%. So on the first run, about 35% of people said that they most strongly supported safety. About 29, almost 30% said they supported speed. About 24% wanted AI maintenance, and about 12% were worried about AI navigation. And I guess for those of you who are watching, I should actually say the question, because we're the ones of us who are flying are the only ones who saw this. So the question is, what do you prioritize in terms of engine design? Is it speed? Is it safety? Do you want and or not want to use AI for maintenance? And do you want and or not want to use AI for navigation? So which one of these should we prioritize? So that first pass, like I said, 35% of people chose safety. In the second pass, the people who chose one or the other of the AI options, they ranked both AI options as their top. So safety and AI maintenance were in a dead heat at that run, at the second one, but still neither one of them got 50%. And at the very end, the last 2 items were safety and speed, the last 2 that were in the running, which means 55% of people voted safety, 45% voted speed. So overall, Chariot Beta people most prefer safety over any of these other options.
Good. Finally.
There was a very vocal and impressively large minority who want AIs to be in charge of the engine, however, and I think that's something that we should think about. If I hadn't split the AI vote the way I did, safety and having AIs at maintenance and navigation would have been tied in the second, in the next round. So I think that's something that's important to think about. Speed, there are some people who are excited about speed, but they sort of seem to be more up on it conceptually than they really are having any specific goals about the speed. Any of the comments that we got in any of the exit polls and stuff like that are just, wouldn't it be neat if? Apparently there's some rumor going around that the first group of people that land on Proxima get some bonus. So there is that, and people were pretty stoked about that. So I guess it once again proves if you offer somebody money, they'll vote your way.
Is that true? Lucius?
I don't know.
We can definitely make it true.
Yeah. The voting results may change if we make it clear as part of the vote that's a thing.
I feel like saying whoever gets there fastest wins a prize might lead to people prioritizing speed over safety. Like, people will be willing to take more risks that are unnecessary just in order to get there faster, which seems irresponsible.
Yeah. Yes. That quite literally happened. You're absolutely right.
So just to clarify, you said that there was a big majority that wanted AI minority that wanted AI
right
to do the navigation. What's that?
The navigation, they prioritized having an engine where AIs could control the navigation and the maintenance of the engine themselves.
Okay, because I'm going over some of the audit logs from the Epsilon ship, and what I'm finding is they had AI actually that was programmed to do some of their secondary system stuff, some of their navigations, and it was actually their AI that caused some of these destructive things to happen. It was like everything just melted down, so to speak, from a software perspective.
Were they AI or were they uploaded persons, just out of curiosity? I mean, if we don't have that answer, that's cool. A lot of people don't make the distinction. I'm just curious.
Leland, you on? Hello?
Everything all right there, Leland? Did we lose Leland?
I think we did. Okay. Well,
I'm getting pop-ups. I'm getting pop-ups in my news feed.
Holy shit.
Yeah, things are happening, I'm being told.
Yeah.
It's a sabotage.
Does anybody know, is she okay?
I'm trying to get in touch with her right now.
It's the Proctor Genetics Laboratory, right? That's all I'm getting on my feed. Is anyone else getting?
We've lost Leland.
Cell phone video that someone has posted, but it's too far away to see anything.
I see no eugenics scrawled on the wall. That's not good.
Whoa, Leland's really out. Damn.
Hey, Leland has a connection to Francis, right? Is that why?
I don't know. Well, I hope they're all right.
Yeah. Yikes.
Yeah, Leland is out. Like, that's not good. So,
right,
wow. I'm going to interrupt with one more piece of news here. The famous author, romance author, Cassandra Montague, apparently her book is being made into a motion picture, and rumor has it that Roxy is in the running to possibly be in this picture. I don't know if you know anything about this, Roxy, but how are you going to be in a motion picture when we are going to be in space very soon?
Well, I'm just going to have to make a difficult decision about that one.
A decision? You're not taking this mission seriously? You're kind of like the bright spirit here on our ship.
You know, at first, I thought this was just bullshit. Let's be real.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Alpha went up, and I could care less. I was like, yeah, whatever, they'll crash into the atmosphere, I don't care. But then I kind of got forced into this thing because contracts, woo. And, you know, you guys need me. If you don't have somebody to loosen you up, you all will shrivel into little grapes and then just poof away into the wind. So I was really looking forward to this movie, not going to lie, but I think I'm going to have to drop it because how am I going to be in a movie if I'm in space?
I agree with that decision. All right. I'm sorry to interrupt the important discussion about AI and whatnot with that kind of news and the information about Frances. That's really tough. I'm trying to track her down and make sure she's all right. And if anybody has any concerns about her or any difficult feelings about leaving Earth or anything else, we have each other for a reason. We have religious counsel on the ship for a reason. Please make use of your resources. I'm sorry to interrupt. Let's go back to discussing whatever we need to about the voting and everything.
Well, one thing that wasn't really explored, and I guess Doc, you'd probably be the best person to answer this, is one thing that came up is what constitutes making our safety less. Is there something about going at a particular speed that's going to do we know how our bodies are going to mess around at these high speeds? Can we go too fast?
Actually, this isn't so much a medical question as it is a science question. What we're talking about when we go to faster speeds is we run the risk of greater damage when the ship gets hit by things. I mean, we are planning for ships do get hit by small, tiny meteorites. That happens. But they're prepared for it. They're well protected for it. When you go at faster speeds, things are hitting you at a stronger motion. Is there another person here who might be Avery? Possibly?
This sounds like a great question for the captain, actually, who's navigating the ship.
Yeah, I mean, look, safety should always be the first priority. In the voting, in the survey, I indicated that safety should be the highest priority. I think all of our resources should be primarily dedicated to safety, primarily dedicated towards deflection of any kind of obstacles we might encounter. I'm going to make no secret about the fact that I certainly had a talk with my crew and pressured all of them to... Oh, pressure might not be the right word. I suggested all of them might consider voting on behalf of the safety of the ship. Now, some of them are going to interpret that as, safety in construction and engine speed or whatever. Some of them might interpret that differently regarding AI. So, ultimately, I want this to be the safest cruise possible. And, I'm doing everything I can to make sure that we're ready to navigate in that way. I mean, we have great pilots. I'm certainly prepared to encounter whatever we might along the way. We are equipped with modest weapons complement, primarily to eradicate any asteroids or space debris we come upon on the way, so that it doesn't impede our journey too greatly. We're doing everything we can. So I am a little worried about Epsilon. I'm also kind of wondering, if I were a hacker, I feel like I would want to hack the ship that was about to take off, not the one that is going to take off in several weeks. Unless it's a ploy to shake our confidence. I don't know. But if anybody has any information, please get that over to Leland. We need to track that down and get that taken care of. Wow. Just that news about both Epsilon and also about Frances and her lab make me really worried. So we'll have to.
I'd like to say something here.
Mm-hmm.
I think we need to take the security situation really, really serious right now.
Do it.
And I think we need to. I want to propose a cap on all AI IQ at 110, IQ 110, and a cap at the self-determination level at 20%. That means that they can still run the space elevator. They can still, do all the diagnostic things, but they will have a limited possibility of interacting with that.
There is an issue with that, and the fact that some people already, before they make any choices, have an IQ higher than 110. Does that mean that if someone makes that transition, you'd want to decrease their overall intelligence?
I'm sure we can discuss details later.
We don't discuss details later when you're talking about effectively drugging someone into stupidity. No.
A cap at 110, a self-determination cap at 20%.
The self-determination of these people is exactly what makes them people. You're trying to bring them back to AI so that you don't have to respect that these uploaded persons are people. If you
let's establish, there's a difference between opinions and facts. So, Leland, can I get your opinion here? If we did a cap, a hypothetical situation where we did a cap, AI IQ at 110 and self-determination level at 20%, keep them at only 20% of self-determination level, that would significantly reduce the risk of an AI-aided hacker attack, right?
Well, you would reduce the ability of that AI of taking over things. So, in a sense, you'd be militarizing it, sort of. You'd be giving them a direct order, and they'd be able to do that and only that and nothing else.
Can I get the actual AI expert's opinion on this, please? Elizabeth, can you speak up?
Okay, so if you're taking an AI and you are reducing the intelligence of the AI and you are reducing its ability to act on its own accord and to critically assess what information it's being given, you are creating a mindless slave. And so then if you have somebody come in and wants to have it do something, it doesn't matter the intelligence. If it parses out orders in a specific enough sequence, it can still make it do whatever they want if they get into the system. So our priority has always been making sure that the system is secure. And if the AI is able to critically analyze the information that's being given by having a higher processing power, then it is able to self-protect itself from outside sources according to its programming. So the method and the approach that you are suggesting is a little bit counterintuitive, in my opinion, to the goals that you are seeking.
I have a question. Father, what are the ethical implications of this? I mean, if we're really talking about, like, drugging people and forcing a lower level of intelligence or something like that, I mean, I assume that that's morally bankrupt in a way?
Yeah. And anyone that's recognized as a person, you're not able to do something against their will. That's wrong, morally wrong, and it's a sin. Part of the situation, and the church at least has a very clear distinction between an artificial intelligence, which is like a robot, something that was built, something that was created, whether it's ones and zeros, what was the origin of the being and the entity, and takes a, does the normal human respect and treatment don't follow to it. But the church is still conflicted regarding uploaded consciousnesses because they began as humans and thus are humans. So regarding the upload, hopefully we can table or at least pause in this. And I'm not sure if you're talking about an artificial intelligence, because if this is something created, this is a robot, essentially. If you think of something that, cleans your home or something, reducing its functionality is something that we do, and we can. The church doesn't have any problem with it. But when you're dealing with a person and you're forcing it into some kind of situation that that does not have its consent, it has some problems with it. Does that answer the question? Hopefully.
It does for me. I just wanted to make sure that viewpoint was especially heard. You know, I mean, we do have to be decisive. We have to make these decisions before we go on board. But you know, some of these are really, we have some really strong opinions here. And I want to also make sure that other crew members like Adam, I mean, Adam's here to stay, right? So we're going to have to welcome him to a degree. We don't really have another option. I'm assuming he has a lot of value in terms of his, in terms of, you know, his value. I actually kind of think we should put Adam to work a little bit, you know, like, what was he, like, he can do things, right? He should have a job just like the rest of us. Am I right?
Yeah, I'm sure he'd be glad to chip in. I don't think he ever expected to not work. I mean, he's a writer. You can put your words together digitally as easily as you can, you know, in our space. We basically put our words together digitally these days anyway. So, we can figure out something.
And Captain, if I may just jump in for a second.
Of course.
We met with the Rules Department to talk about, you know, some of the rights and responsibilities of the crew. And I find it very interesting that during that time, Leland never expressed, you know, any argument about capping, you know, uploaded persons or anything like that during that time. Instead, what was discussed was that, you know, we would offer uploaded persons specifically some rights on the ship, but also some responsibilities. And that goes hand in hand with what you were just talking about. When we're in space, there is no room for something that is not needed or has no usefulness. And uploaded persons, along with every member of that ship, have a role and a place aboard the ship. If secondary systems decide that they no longer want to repair the air scrubbers, then we're in a horrible place, you know? And AI could be in there to step up, and uploaded persons could help us in those type of situations. But everybody needs rights, the right to food, air, you know, water and space, and to have a place to live up there. In comparison, they also have these responsibilities and duties that they have to follow through with.
Okay, can I just want to say that I've heard what everyone has to say, especially you, Father. I'm short again late. My suggestion will stand, but only when it comes to created AIs. We can discuss uploaded penalties later. But my suggestion stands about a cap for created AIs.
I just worry we're potentially hobbling ourselves in case of emergency. It might be worthwhile to put an emergency provision in there as needed. If we run into a situation we don't think we can handle on our own, we might want some people or some programs with an IQ above 110 to parse through the options for us.
If we're talking artificial beings, and I'm assuming that their role is to assist the functionality of the ship, is that correct?
Yes. So we have, for instance, one that is going to be if we have the cold fusion engine, we have an AI created AI that is designed to interface with that cold fusion device to run all of it. Major risks that I have been pointing out. That is one of the examples of that.
I'm not technically proficient in this, but is there should be a manual override, isn't there? If we detect, you know, something that's wrong with a system, and can we not override the AI and take manual control? I know it's difficult, but isn't it possible for us to switch it off or get its assistance or suggestions or something like that?
Well, in theory, I'm sure Beth would have opinion of this, right? In theory, yes, but I'm not sure that Beth can. I'm also sure that Beth, in theory, can turn off all of her implants and not have them, decide things for her, like when she gets hungry or when she wants to do things. But in practice, it might be a little difficult. Just use her as an example.
So in having AIs and making sure that we have safeguards to control them if they would go rogue, it seems to be the concern here. You can take an AI server, because the processing power in order to sustain AI is very particular, given how it is a machine that is made to act in an organic manner. It would mean that we could place this server in a way with our systems that we can cut off its ties to the rest of it, and if nowhere else on the ship has these manner of servers located, we should be able to isolate them. Now, the main thing would be, of course, this would require working with you, the engineer, making sure that we know where all of these servers would be located to make sure that since we have a hacker that they aren't placing hidden ones throughout the ship, because as we can have AI located inside of implants, these servers can be very small. They're just a very particular piece of creation, software, hardware, and engineering. So I would be willing to work with you on that, making sure that we know precisely where these things are and how to disconnect them from the rest of the ship if it becomes a safety issue. But I would like to make sure that you're agreeing not to just arbitrarily disconnecting them because you have a problem with AI.
We touched briefly last week on the quality of life. And I think if we move to decide that on the ship that AI are people, then we have to continue treating them like people.
Can we keep that distinction again, please, though? We're not talking about created AI. We're talking about UP, uploaded persons. And
I'm not saying that we treat them any differently, but with everybody here, we maintain the ability to limit their access to crucial systems if there's a problem. With AI, you have to consider ways to do that involve the programming. So I'm not saying that we're cutting them off arbitrarily or we are isolating them or jailing them arbitrarily. I'm saying that in treating them like people, we need to make sure that they have the same safeguards on them as people do. And I would say that it's very important that we make sure that they are treated fairly, like you were saying.
I see where you're going with this, because if we have them locked down when they are on board, that's fine. Just remember, the report I read from Epsilon specifically states that the AI was on board when these subroutines kind of activated. So it's hard to tell whether or not these subroutines were put into it prior to the AI being put onto the ship, or whether they were done on the ship. So it could have been a person changing it on the fly, or who knows, it could have been the AI making its own changes based on what it felt like the system needed, right?
Well, then you simply put in a subroutine into the AI that it can't alter its own programming. And that subsystem and that limitation in its programming, unless it breaks that programming, and then we run into this wall when it comes to any kinds of efforts to change itself. And if it was a matter of somebody going in and altering the AI to sabotage the ship, is that a malfunction of the AI or is it a malfunction of a ship member? And when it comes to talking about malfunctions in AI, any member of this crew here, any one of us could develop Alzheimer's or dementia or any number of diseases once we're on the ship. So talking about some kind of problem that might arise with the AI, we have the same risk with every single person that is on this ship, where they may become incapable of carrying out their duties, or even dangerous to other members of the crew.
You're making a lot of sense, Clark. I think we need united to work more on this.
You know what? It's actually very heartening to hear those words from your mouth. You were the last person I was expecting to hear that from.
You and me both.
I tried putting it the best I could.
No, we need to. I'm going to be on this ship. We need to get this thing working, and if we can separate out the UP, I think we'll have big issues from the AI, and develop safety procedures for that. I think that's a good first step.
How how for the lay people or people of the cloth listening, how necessary is it for the functionality of the ship to have the AI fully embedded in all, or at least most of the engineering systems? Is this an absolute requirement, or can you guys do it with some slide rules and calculators?
To make my day not brutally tedious? Yeah.
One of the benefits of having an AI is that they can make micro adjustments and calculations at an incredibly increased rate when compared to the human brain and human capacity. And so what it does is it allows us to run more efficiently on the ship with less manpower. And so it allows us to keep the crew smaller while accomplishing more.
But we don't need them in, for instance, the engine. So here's an important thing that no one ever puts in grants, right? Going straight in a straight line in space is really easy. Okay?
I would think that gravitational pull of planetary bodies might affect the course in some way and would require adjustments throughout the trip.
Absolutely.
You'd be surprised how damn close you have to be before it really bends you anywhere difficult, though.
Yeah. So most of the time, we're not going to pass any close to any sort of gravitational field, stars or planetary bodies. So for most of the time, we go in a straight line, and as I hope you know, once you add force to an object in space, that is going to keep going in a straight line. And that is one of the reasons why I want to get rid of all this cold fusion engine with its weird AI and replace it with a fission and biosynthesis engine. We don't need the AI to run that one. That's an answer to your question, Father, that for some systems like engineering, if we have a simple, straightforward engine, we don't need the AIs. Leland can answer about the security system. I don't know if you can get rid of the AIs from that.
AIs from the security system specifically?
Yeah.
I mean, you can lock down an AI out of whatever you want. All you got to know is its signature. A signature is like a fingerprint, right? So if you know its signature, you know how to stop it. Just as if our user IDs or our login passwords or whatever like that. So if we know that part, we can easily confine them to certain areas. But then we go back to, like the doctor was saying, if they are people, like if the up are people and they're on board, do we treat them like that, or do we allow them? There's a lot of implications that I just don't have the right to say anything on.
Well, I think it's important to remember, anything can be spoofed, anything can be faked, anything can be modified, and that includes every security log. There's no such thing as a perfect log. There's no such thing as a perfect security system. So yeah, you can lock them out, but you almost need AIs on the inside that can learn as fast as the AIs attacking, if they exist, to get through the day.
I would like to point out that historically, if you look at the statistics, people are more prone to corruption than AI. So when it comes to all of this and saying how dangerous an AI is in these different systems, statistically speaking, you're more likely to find a fault and sabotage or a miscalculation by way of human error rather than programming error.
Right.
And if there is programming error, generally that will not be in the actions of the AI itself. It will be by way of human interference with the programming.
Can I raise a completely different issue that is very time sensitive right now?
Go for it.
So, Leland has discovered an encrypted data transfer. Is that right?
Yeah. So basically,
Becca is.
Oh, okay. So while I'm digging deeper into the Epsilon issues, obviously I'm unencrypting whatever files I can possibly get into because I need to see what's going on. And I just happened across this. It just popped in from a Ralhart & Co. server specifically, and it just says literally just that. It's a message that says Emily Beta What is an Emily Beta?
Have you guys heard the rumors about Captain Emily Sullivan?
I think we should wait until the captain gets back.
I think we absolutely should not wait until the captain gets back.
I think that it is. I think it's fair to have this discussion, but I think we need to make sure that none of us are. I mean, keep in mind we're broadcasting. Do not put anything on right now you don't want on the news wires in 5 minutes. All the news wires.
Okay. So I don't think I'm not trying to be secretive but I have seen.
If you're good with it, put it out there.
Sure, absolutely. I have seen plenty of people contacting me, isn't it strange that your captain was also on Chariot Alpha? So Emily Sullivan, our Captain Emily Sullivan, was also on Chariot Alpha. It can't be a news item to many of you either. You must have seen this too, right?
I just assumed that it was some kind of PR bullshit, edited imagery. I mean, you want me to take a look at the feeds and see if there's any proof that these are real images? Does not seem.
I think there are a lot of rumors out there now saying that our captain is some sort of a clone or doesn't exist or something like that, and I think we need to put those at rest.
Would it matter if he was a clone?
I don't think that some information. There is information that I've just received, a death log that Leland sent me. I read through it, and according to the death log, Captain O'Sullivan is actually deceased.
Then who is the captain if the real Emily is dead? Then who have we been talking to?
Just stay here, buddy.
Entirely different person.
Yeah.
Plastic surgery has gone a long way. Arguably, the person on Epsilon and the person we're talking to can just both be appearing like Emily without necessarily being clones.
Mr. Relhart, I feel that you have a piece of the puzzle here. You're usually very open with us, your employees, when it comes to memos about these sort of things. New inventions or in policies changes. Could you cast some light on this?
What I know right now is that, prior to this mission blasting off or even coming into preparation, I had met with Emily. I can attest that this is the Emily that I know. And,
they're talking about
based off of her qualifications and everything like that, she is more than adept and qualified to be aboard this ship.
Did she show up in person for her last questionnaire?
Yes, she did.
Huh. There goes that theory.
How are you certain that it was Emily that you met the first time?
So I met Emily during the battle of, I forget what you call it, the whiskey run or something like that. And at the time I was procuring some lost equipment, and that's how I met Emily. And I'm sure that this is the same Emily.
How? Can you talk about that run?
Yeah, we've talked about the run, and
No,
yeah.
met in person. How were you certain that it was the same Emily that you met on that run?
There's technology out there that would procure IDs.
Like what? Like, are you talking? Are you talking? That's it. That's easy.
All right, I was just gonna say the same thing. As someone who spends her free time faking shit, that is easily faked. I can do that in my kitchen.
So I want to maybe repeat my earlier question. How were you certain that it was the same Emily?
Let me get you a report on that. I don't have the information with you right now.
We're good.
It seems like there's a lot of possibilities here, and I do confess that mysteries intrigue me. Is it possible that we have a created persona of an Emily, or a AI with a body, or a clone, or a bunch of twin sisters?
If she was AI and she was
Alternately, it could be 3 raccoons in a trench coat. We don't know.
As a medical professional, that is not the case.
Look, if there's a way that AIs can get physical bodies, I need to know yesterday. I don't know about, well, I
Well,
won't
can't
say
you
that
put
out loud.
an AI in a robot?
It's not as easy as you'd think. I mean, every artificial limb is manufactured by, I mean, there's, 2-3 dozen manufacturers out there at this point. For selective pieces that you want to manufacture, there's probably more. It's kind of like putting together a really old school computer. You have to make sure that the serial bus matches the processor, matches the RAM, matches the, I mean, I've never seen someone who's top to toe artificial. I don't know about y'all.
Another problem is that some systems require more bulk to run and more power, and so running an AI and running all of the processes to keep them running and functional as a person, on top of everything required to maintain a balance and to coordinate movement and everything like that, in a mobile unit can be very taxing on power, and so then a lot of it comes down to finding a battery. When you have a human element with it, then the actual, like the part bio engine that was discussed in some other facets, the human body itself can help adjust with the AI and the cybernetic implants.
So, I'm sorry, I'm confused in this. Are you suggesting that it's possible that, well, I don't know how that would do, but that an AI can ride on with a human?
It's possible.
I mean, I don't think that solves our captains being on 2 places at the same time.
And being dead.
Yeah, the dead part's worrying me a little bit.
No, this is Alpha. This is Chariot Alpha, right?
Yes. We're beta.
Right, but then there's a Captain Emily of Chariot Alpha has passed. They're launched already. How do we
think
know?
this is actually the 3rd, right? So we've got living Captain O'Sullivan on Alpha, living Captain O'Sullivan RCAP, and then this other Captain O'Sullivan who died, I'm guessing, before Alpha took off.
No.
That?
That report was from the Epsilon ship.
From Epsilon. So this
Yes.
still is a 3rd Epsilon. So this is still a 3rd Emily. It's just not like a primary.
We have up to a Zeta run planned right now.
And will there be an Emily on every ship?
There probably will be.
How?
Okay, I think we
Something
should.
that we'll probably not be discussing on air, but I will definitely get you all more information about this. I would just like to remind everyone that during our first meeting, one of the things that I talked about was how Rebel Heart & Co. is raising the bar, and perhaps Emily has to do with that. I personally don't have a lot of details on it, otherwise I would give it to you right now.
You also said that transparency was important. That's why we're doing these video logs at all.
I honestly feel a little bit deceived that you had this information and you had known more about the captain who is going to be in charge of the ship, and you knew that it was not being entirely transparent and that we are just finding this now, not by way of you coming clean and open about the situation, but because somebody else managed to dig up incriminating evidence. And I think that needs to be addressed, because this is a great way to damage the trust of the crew with both you, your organization, and with the captain, which is not setting any of this up to a good start.
So let me go back. I do not know anything for sure about the captain. I know about projects that we have started and that we are working on, and I personally do not oversee every single person and screen them that comes aboard the ship. Just like all of you here are the best minds for your field, I have people that do that.
But you've already hinted in this conversation that there's something in project going on with Emily, which means that you have some sort of objective information.
Knowing the stuff that's out there, I'm going to see what's happening with my team. I personally don't have all the details. I can't tell you if Emily is an AI. if Emily is a cyborg, if Emily is
Well,
a twin, you know? I don't know, but I just know that at Real Hard Co. anything's possible.
So you're saying that you don't actually have real control over your company, that people just do crazy projects all the time?
I'm saying that I have several projects that this might be.
Okay. That's not
But I'm
concerning
telling
at
you that
all.
I will get you more information about
All right.
what I personally know.
Mm-hmm.
Is it now? I'm wondering: is it actually possible that we can bow out of this project?
Anybody that doesn't want to go is more than adept to not come.
Because there's definitely some trust issues, and I'm hoping that we're not actually being a part of some larger unknown project that Relahart wants to do some testing on something else, or protecting, or in the best interest. I think if we're gonna go away on this ship and leave our homes and our families behind, that we need to know who's piloting the ship, who's running the ship, what the purpose of the ship is, and all of that stuff. I agree that I think we do need some full transparency and disclosure on this stuff, whether not necessarily here, but yeah, I'm definitely concerned as well.
I think we should move on from this topic.
Yeah.
I think we need more information, but we can't get it more.
Can
I
I
just want
ask
to say that
one question of the group before we move on? When Cap comes back, are we going to confront her on this, or are we going to pretend this conversation never happened? And
On this.
it'll be all over the news in about 2 minutes. In fact, I'm already getting, messages.
right, I told you to be on the wires, but I mean, are we going to confront her about this on this call today, or are we going to deal with this later?
I think that it might be
Hi, what's happening?
topic.
I heard you're confronting me about something. What's going on?
Speak of the devil, and the devil comes.
Yeah, what's going on?
So, Captain Emily, can you tell us more about you? Because it's become known that you are
This beast.
both on Alpha and now Beta, and it is a security and trust issue now at the ship. Everybody
security
thinks
issue?
that I had knowledge of this, and I'm not disclosing things.
A security issue. Lucius, you met me. You met me
That's
in
what
the
I told
field.
That's what I told them. But it is physically not possible for you to be here in multiple places at the same time.
Yeah, I'm here. I am physically right here. I'm me. I'm here. I don't know what else you want to say. I'm here. I was assigned to this. If you guys have questions, ask me. I'll answer anything. What's wrong?
You'll see it on your news feed in a second here, but there's an Epsilon version of you that's dead.
An Epsilon version? What does that mean?
Like the you that was on Epsilon, we've got a death report.
I've never been on Epsilon. I did a visual inspection of the construction process. That's it.
Captain, I trust you. We work together pretty well these last few months with this, and I trust you, and it makes a weird word here, but I feel a great deal of loyalty to you, and I think that's important with this mission we have coming up. But there are pictures and videos of someone who looks exactly like you on Chariot Alpha. And I have to ask you, are you a clone? Because if so, it would be good to get that information now.
No, I mean, I can tell you all about my life and my upbringing and whatever you want to know. I was raised and trained. I was in the military. I was assigned to Chariot Beta. I don't know what other information do you need?
There is a lot of videos and pics of you, and on Chariot Alpha we have a death certificate for Captain Emily Sullivan. Personally, I think we should give you this information and then ask for your reaction once you have had time to. That's my suggestion to you and to the group.
No, the only thing I can think that is weird about me is something I was going to discuss with our doctor and our priest, and that is that I have some, how would you call it, missing time. I thought it was maybe like a medical issue, but there are definitely a few weeks, series of time that I don't recall anything happening that I kind of wanted to just clear up before I got on the ship. And I was having some guilt over that. But I was going to clear that up tomorrow. I was going to meet with Dr. Knight tomorrow and clear all that up and be ready to go. I want to join you on the ship.
We have to run with the possibility that with this new information and with your blackouts and with your migraines, you might no longer be qualified to captain this ship.
No.
All of it.
No, I have to captain the ship. It's I'm the war hero. I'm the one that captains this. What? We'll meet tomorrow. We'll sort it out. Doc, we'll sort it out.
Good, Captain.
We were just going to flip to another topic. Maybe we should spare the cap more of this headache.
Let's flip to the topic. I'm going to meet.
Part of this, I do want to say that Emily, you may not be aware of stuff that's been going on. So, let's not be accusing the captain of things first. Let's just find out and make sure everything's okay and that she's okay and everything else is okay before, we're looking at stuff and telling her not to be on the ship. But we definitely will need a full medical examination if possible, and I'm available if you wish to talk about some things.
Yeah, I consent to a full physical exam. I consent to a spiritual consultation of any type, or just some regular counseling with you, Father. I'll do whatever it takes. I didn't think my life really. I didn't really think too far ahead of my life until I got this assignment. Last thing I want to do is anything that I've done put Lucius at risk, or his company, or his effort here.
Or I hope the rest of us.
None of you. The safety and security of the entire crew is paramount. So it's okay. I apologize for the interruption. Nora, go ahead and continue on with the next topic as planned.
Well, it wasn't my topic. We were done with the voting stuff. I'm good with the voting stuff at this point. I've got a topic that I'm going to offer to all of the chariots at this point. I'd like to give a shout out to the guys who spammed the living crap out of all of the inboxes that I managed to make, spammed the living crap out of all of the printers that I managed to make, and faked a paper trail. Y'all were good. I'm impressed. I got couriered paper responses from, I don't even know where on the globe. So shout out. But I figured it all out, and we won't have that problem with the paper trail when they're all in individual machines. So that's great. So I will put another one out there, and I'll put another poll out there for all the chariots this time. We're talking about who should be able to reproduce. That won't be a concerning topic at all. It definitely won't be. Won't produce any angry posts on the net anywhere. That'll be good. And we'll leave this one open for a little bit longer this time, and we'll talk about the results next time. But hopefully, I've put some new safeguards in place, and I think we'll be pretty pleased with it. So
great. And I'd like to make a request, Leland, if you could put me in touch with this supposed Captain Emily on Alpha. If there's somebody posing as me, I want to have that face-to-face conversation.
Okay. I'll dig into some more of the reports, see. Also, Doc, we should work together on this because it sounds like there's a lot of files I don't have access to. Any medical file I'm not going to have access to because based on, my role. So those are things that are going to help us dig into any of that death report, stuff like that, as well as just Lucius. I would call face-to-face with, whoever hasn't shipped out already and kind of go from there.
Is there a privacy issue with looking at other people's medical files? And that's why you don't have access?
Well,
I mean, when it really comes down to it, your medical files, there's, privacy concerns. Just legally speaking, just because we have the right to all your medical information doesn't mean everyone has the right to access it.
Yeah, that's why I said based on my role, I don't have access to it. I'm not asking to see the stuff. I'm asking as Doc to review and to correlate with me on the reviews of stuff I have. That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, of course. But obviously the disclosure of information is on a need-to-know basis.
Any other issues that we need to cover tonight? We still have some time, but considering that some of us under some duress, we've got decisions to make about, appearing in major motion pictures, and apparently...
I don't know. Didn't Roxy already say she's turning it down?
Is that true, Roxy? You turning down the role?
Yeah.
I'm glad.
Whoa!
I'm glad
That
this
was
means
too
a lot
short.
to you.
Where's the fire, Roxy? Get sassy on us.
I don't know if this is too forward of me, but being in the remains of Los Angeles, I've got a script. Maybe Roxy, you can look at it and something we could do on the ship. It's kind of a loving piece between young a beautiful woman, and she's trying to figure out the way in her life. Maybe if you took a look at it, we can have something for you on the ship.
I would watch that movie.
Please forward all script requests to my agent.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Okay. Yeah.
So
what else? What else?
I want to continue on this topic. So we need something for all the civilians to do, so that they don't bother, the rest of us. So I figure that is the fathers and Roxy's department. So what are these people gonna be doing? The people who don't actually have essential jobs. How will we keep them busy? Productive, entertained, creative, any of those adjectives.
Who is that directed to? Is that
either to you, Father, or to Roxy? How do we keep people interested and active and out of my engine room?
I see your ulterior motive there.
I like that way of thinking. I don't want anything messing with your engine.
I mean, we can give them. I mean, we should give them drugs, right? I already suggested putting everyone else to sleep, and that was not doing that. So what do they do? Do they make movies with Roxy? Do they
Adam can write.
Let's just keep Adam out of this, Nora. Seriously, yes. It's not
He's
poetry.
a civilian who needs something to do.
Automatically generated words.
I think there's a lot of things that people could be doing on the ship, and we have a vast library of books, of movies, of music that can be listening to, and I'm hoping that we will all have some duties of things that we can do. I'd love to have some space to for physical activity, some sporting athletic competitions, and I think there's tons of stuff that we can be doing. The military has been confined to one ship for years and years and years. I think there's a lot of observations that we can be looking at. I think there's tons of stuff.
And just think, we could presumably produce a movie or something of the sort, anything artistic, and still be able to transmit that back to Mars and Earth within our first year out. So what we do in our first several months could be crucial to our legacy. So if there's something like that we can do, I mean, Roxy could really be the first major movie star to produce something entirely on a ship in space. That's quite an achievement.
You guys have no idea how hard I worked to get where I am, and that was just for nothing. I worked my entire life, but now I get to start over. I can't do it.
I don't understand what's wrong. You'll still be doing a lot here.
I can't start over. I can't start over.
You're obviously not going to start over. We all know who you are. You can start your own. I mean, we'll have our own culture. We'll have our own movies. We'll have our own everything.
And you'll be in charge of it. First. And people would kill to be on the ship. In fact, I've heard that people have tried to kill to be on the ship. And now as somebody who has their position on the ship threatened, I have to say that it bothers me a little bit that you don't want to go.
Well, and can I just say, if somebody's screwing with you and pushing you for this, you want something done on the dark web, you call me.
Nora, that's illegal. She doesn't mean that. Okay? Any police looking, that she doesn't mean that.
Just a reminder, we are being broadcast.
You can be on the dark web. You just,
Leland, you might want to omit some of that feed if you could before. I know there's a delay before it feeds. Just thank you.
Well, to be honest, my question would be, some of the stuff that's going on, somebody who has direct connection to that world should know something at this point, because that's where all of the IP addresses I keep finding, every connection that's coming to us from outside, it's either coming from inside the servers of Heart and Co., or directly from the dark web. So I would question that statement you just said.
I'm literally right here not typing. Am I hacking you with my brain?
I mean,
with the proper implants, you can do that.
I don't have those implants.
I'm not saying
on the record
specifically, but I just know.
You're accusing my sister here, Leland.
No.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
asking.
exactly what it sounds.
Are you asking for my help?
Well, what I'm asking is if you have any information on any people or organizations or things that you may know of that may be targeting us specifically. It would be nice to not obviously come out right now, because that's not a good idea, but maybe send me a message so we can look a bit further.
I will definitely not talk to you about anybody who I don't know on anything like the dark web, which isn't the dark web, in the near future.
Okay.
Anyway, back to the point. Roxy, if you want somebody, bumped off, I am kidding about that. But seriously, if you've got some shit going down, call me.
And I'm to understand that we are still going to be in communication with Earth and Mars for a while. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, a year. Mm-hmm.
And what happens after the first year?
Then we can still transmit things, but they take a while to go through, and then eventually after that we are out of range and we really lose contact. So we could have transmissions, but it'll be a very long time between receiving them. So yeah, I feel like we'll feel a little connected to our existing cultures probably in the initial journey. I think what Nora mentioned about having our own culture is really important, about developing our own culture immediately. But because after a while, we're not going to have that contact.
Is it possible to relay signal from ship to ship?
It is possible, and it is highly likely that we will be in contact with other chariots because the launch times are so close together. So it is certainly possible that we will have interactions similar to this, actually, with other ships.
So we've just made your audience huge.
Yeah, 233 passengers times however many chariots are out there, pretty much. And they're being launched consecutively every few weeks, meaning, that's a huge audience. It's our own culture kind of developing, and, I think that's important. The culture of Chariot, the Chariot culture, not only is it representing hope for the people we're leaving behind, but for us, I think it's important. We need to have our own culture because we're going to live and die on this ship. And,
that means you are crucial, Roxy.
Yeah.
That's true. It means we need you. That's why you're assigned to the ship. I mean, I know you've got other stuff going on, but that's why you're important to us.
Well, and one ship launched every 2 to 3 weeks, times how many letters we know we're going to be doing, with the last ship staying in contact with Earth until a year after its launch. We're still going to be able to relay back almost 2 years. So that's even longer that we'll stay in contact with Earth if we want to make a few things and send them home. That's a whole award season and a half.
That's true.
Just saying.
I mean, whatever our culture is going to be, it's kind of a weird unknown for me. My whole life is war, and the next battle I'm going to fight. I don't really think about culture until we have a culture division. I don't know what's going on with that. But, it is definitely a possibility for us to have our own culture, and I want to know what that looks like, and I think that's why it's important to have Roxy here.
I want to have dances, and not any of those 2030s, boring music things. 2015. Need to have dances. I haven't had time to go out dancing in years, and then the wars and the bombings. But no 2030s.
We have some residual childhood trauma from the crap our parents took us to. Just saying.
I don't know.
How are you doing? Roxy, how are you?
I've been better.
Okay.
Thank you for asking.
We care about you. I mean, at least I do. I think you're a crucial part of the mission. You definitely do something I don't know how to do. All right, does anybody else have anything else they want to bring up before we cut it for tonight?
I guess, do you guys want to have Adam on one of these sessions at some point? Is that going to put anyone at ease, or is that going to stress some people out?
I'd love to meet him.
I want to know who's on my ship, yeah.
Right on?
I'd be very interested in meeting Adam.
Okay. I don't think we're going to be able to get the cycles for a full video, but I think we can get a text drop in. So, better than nothing.
All right, we'll work on that.
I think, though, that one of the most important people to hear from, because of the potentially distressing nature, is our head engineer and how she feels about having Adam drop in.
Why would I care? This is a program that stimulates a person. That is my deeply held conviction. I find it morbid, but I think that if you guys get to see this too, yeah, maybe you will also see how strange it is. Sure.
Okay.
Super. I'll get in touch with the appropriate ones of you, get them through security checks, and get them set up.
All right, Dr. Knight, I will meet you in New York City tomorrow if that works for you. And Father, I'll reach out to you as well about discussing some of these issues. I fully consent to going through counseling, through any kind of, medical examination, whatever I need to do to retain my place on Chariot Beta. I don't know what's going on, I'll keep researching it. Leland, feel free to do the same. We'll try and figure out what's happening here. And Lucius, our friendship means a lot. We go back years, and I promise I would never do anything to betray your trust. So,
we're going to figure this out.
Okay. All right. Anyone else have anything to bring up before we cut the feed?
I need a decision by early next week, or by next week at least, about which engine we're going with.
Okay.
I'll say it again just to be absolutely clear, because I talked a little statistic-y. By and large, and by multiple ways of counting the votes, safety is the priority of the majority of people here. And the ability for AI to control comes up a little bit close, and then finally speed. So make of that as you will.
Do I have the mandate to rip out the cold fusion device?
We didn't explicitly vote on that.
We could put that up for vote this round if you have time to orchestrate that.
Yeah, we'll put a straight yes/no.
Yes. No.
Do you want the fusion engine or do you want the fission engine?
Yes.
That's the question. Okay, we'll run it.
But before we do that vote, can we kind of hear the cases for and against it in relation to safety? In other words, safety is sort of a vague, not a vague term, but it's very broad. And what I was hearing is that the AI controlling is needed to control the engine. Is that like part of a safety? Are we worried about the AI controlling the engine or the engine itself? Or I'm not exactly sure. But I don't have an informed vote on which engine is better and why.
Yeah, we still have 20 minutes left in our video conference session for tonight. So Tess, if you'd like to explain that now, if you're prepared, we can do that, or we can table it.
Sure, I can do a short run through.
Okay.
As you know, I am biased on this. I am biased by years and years of working with this shit. That's where my bias comes from. But I'm going to try to give you as neutral a summary as possible. So we have two possible engines. One is the same kind of a fission / biosynthesis engine that Alpha had. This uses solar power. It will require us to go closer to stars every once in a while to get energy from the stars into the biosynthesis. So it's a bioenergy biomatter conversion system in combination with a fission, so a nuclear standard engine, right? That is one package. The other package is a cold fusion device, which has never been made on this scale before as it is now. So it's a new prototype that was developed for this ship. And that can only be run by an AI because it is so complex. We humans can't keep up. As Clark said earlier, this is where AIs are useful. They can run things that require many millions of decisions per second. Okay? Fission and fusion. Fusion needs the AI. Fission can have AI, certainly, but doesn't need it. Fusion faster. Okay? Fusion is faster. Cold fusion will get us there potentially 17 to up to 23 years faster, depending. Fission will get us there slower, but it is safer, doesn't require the AI, and if something breaks down, we can actually repair it. The cold fusion device shouldn't need repairing. We can possibly use it as an energy source for whatever city we're going to build when we get to Proxima Beta. In my opinion, it's a question of safety versus safety, fission, and speed, cold fusion. Was that a good summary?
Yes, thank you. I have a couple more questions. Sorry, and if anyone else, please ask them. Is the ship capable of? Will we have enough supplies, I guess. If it's another 20, 23, 25 years late, will we be able to have enough food to go on that way? And is it possible that we could start with the cold fusion, and then will we have the ability to change that to a fission engine, or it's one or the other, and we have to know before we go?
Regarding the first question, I'll field that one. We will have enough to be sustainable. So in the event of an emergency or a longer voyage, we're going to be okay there. There might have to be some population adjustments that we can field to Frances when she is back online next session. But other than that, we wouldn't really need to make too many adjustments. Most of the infrastructure of the ship can support us for extra time in case of a longer journey or an emergency. The second part of that question, I'll field back to Tess.
That's a really good question. I hadn't actually. So the hypothesis is we take our fission reactor and we take our biosynthesis system and we sort of appropriate cargo hold beta 3, I think, and we would stuff it in there. And then we would unpack it at some later point if we have problems with the cold fusion system. So we can certainly bring the fission engine along. The question is, can I and my people do a mid-journey transplant of this cold fusion device, unhook it, and then put in this the fission engine and the biomatter engine? At the moment, no. If you give us 15 years to study this thing, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it would require a big slowdown to make the switch, but if we were switching from the slower one to the faster one, we'd have to do some calculations and see what the trade-off would be, if any, in terms of time. So that's definitely something we can think about. Any other concerns or questions before we sign offline? All right. I'm going to call it for tonight. We have our next session coming up. I'll communicate all of that in our chat. I'm going to do some digging about this mystery of why I'm supposedly on multiple ships. That seems like really strange to me. I'm going to go ahead and do some digging there. I'm going to work with some of you to unravel that a little bit. If any of you have any questions or concerns, reach out to me. And that's going to be it for tonight. So, all right, everybody. Have a good evening.